Welcome to a special episode of Digital Marketing Radio, and that's our Roundtable edition. So, looking at digital marketing news from February 2015, and probably a bit more as well. So, this may be a bit of a regular event, dear viewer, listener, and what it really depends on is your feedback as well. So I'd love your comments at the end of this discussion to see what you thought. You're maybe watching it on YouTube, so YouTube comments would be great. If you're watching it on digitalmarketingradio.com, just comments directly behind the post, or perhaps on iTunes if you're watching it through the Digital Marketing Radio magazine app. But anyway, let's begin by introducing my guests. So as I see them on the screen here in front of me, starting off with Johnny.
Hi, I'm Johnny Ross from johnnyross.com, specialising in everything from digital, social, and SEO, and what I've seen in the news this month, which I'd really like to talk about, is tweets being listed by Google and fully indexed, and how that's going to affect the whole industry.
Great stuff. Okay, and moving on to Lawrence.
Yeah, hi, I'm Lawrence O'Toole. I'm the CEO of Analytics SEO. We're a big data and SEO software platform for professional marketeers everywhere. And there's plenty going on in the world at the moment, but one of the things that's caught our interest particularly is there seems to be an awful lot of activity with Google testing all sorts of different changes to the SERPs, either on desktop or mobile. And so it'd be interesting to pick up what else other people have seen, how we keep track of it all, what it means for businesses who are trying to get the edge over the competition. And
sitting right in the middle, we have Pete.
Hi there, so I'm Pete Whitmarsh. I work for Search Laboratory. We're very much a SEO and PPC company. I work on the PPC side of that, so I'm the head of the paid media department. Personally, what I'd like to talk about today would be Google Trusted Stores. It seems like one of those little features that's creeping in at the moment, but I think it could take off in a big way, so I'd like to think about the future of that, really.
Okay, and moving along to Ryan.
Hey there, I'm Ryan Buchanan with eRoy, and we are a digital marketing agency here in Portland, Oregon, across email, web, and social. And so my topic, we here at eRoy are seeing a trend among a lot of our retail clients in this whole notion of seamless marketing, or the also called growth hacker marketing, where marketing and communications is not a whole separate island of communication, but it's built into the product. It's all seamlessly integrated together. So that's kind of my topic.
Great stuff, and as you can tell by his accent, Ryan's a bit of a foreigner, yeah. They actually do digital marketing in the United States. I didn't realize that. Yeah. So, and myself, I'm host of digitalmarketingradio.com. I'm David Bain. So let's start off with Johnny's topic first of all. So earlier on in the month, I think it was about February the 5th or something like that, there was a deal announced to say that Google and Twitter were getting together a little bit, and some Twitter results were going to appear within Google SERPs. So that did happen a few years ago. They seemed to fall out, but now they seem to have fallen back in love again. So what caught your eye about that particular story, Johnny?
I think it's a massive step forward. I think there's risks. I think there's potential downsides, but I think it's a major breakthrough, and I think from a branding point of view, I think there's far more opportunity to dominate in Google, and I think we just have to, we just have to be more clever with how we're using Twitter and ensure that we're getting tweets found in Google search for brand terms. But yeah, I think it's a real positive step forward.
I mean, it certainly seems to indicate that Google will be focusing more on fresher results. One thing, of course, that Google is also doing with its SERPs at the moment is trying to deliver as many direct answers there as possible. So I suppose having tweets in there are kind of like having the freshest news possible within its results.
Yeah, and I think it's also a very clear message of with regard to social signals, and how that's being used to for Google to understand how much people are sharing a news story or a blog or even just a website. So I think it couldn't be a clearer message about social signals. And as I said, I think there's risks as well. You then start thinking about the number of clicks before they actually get to the news story, and potentially potentially the traffic could have come direct to your website, where now it could end up being Twitter first and then might get lost. So there is risk as well. But I think it's a clear sign of the strength of social.
Okay. Does anyone have any concerns at all about that? About perhaps Twitter and Google getting together and perhaps controlling things between themselves and making it more difficult for businesses to get involved?
I don't know about concerns, but I will see that there's bound to be opportunities for people to exploit, but it obviously depends on the implementation and the rationale from each party in terms of why they did the deal. I think there was no one really knows why the last deal fell apart, but obviously there was some discussion around suspicion around whether Google might be using Twitter data to help further its own interests in Google Plus. And I think what will be interesting to see is, with the death of results last year, is what implementation Google comes up with. And believe me, no one will be watching it keener than us, tracking the SERPs to try and see early tests of implementations. One thing I'd like to see, and if I was sitting somewhere in Mountain View dreaming up products, is more stuff around local, and whether obviously crawling has limitations, obviously in terms of the cost, the depth, the frequency, the recency, and having access to the fire hose allows Google to really drill into what's important. And if you look at one of the things I want to talk about, which is sort of features in the SERPs, I can just see the SERPs changing beyond all recognition over the next 12 to 18 months. And perhaps, this Twitter data, for example, one of the things you could do is see them surfacing much more local content around local businesses, around local events that are going on, tying it in with, schema data that they picked up in the SERP. So, I think there's going to be a wealth of opportunities for smart switched-on businesses. And I think, like everyone else, we'll be trying to find the best ways to help our clients.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead there.
No, I was just saying, I agree, and I absolutely think there's going to be major changes, and I can sort of just see when the next big events, could be the Oscars, the Brits, whatever. I can just see Google pinching those tweets and just having them live streaming on the page, but giving that real time and sort of finger on the pulse, Yeah, it is interesting, and I'm sure it will change what a SERP looks like.
So what about Google Plus? Originally, Google were probably touting that as a bit more of a social network competitor, but it's more of a social layer, and perhaps on its way out now with that Twitter deal. Does anyone think that Google Plus isn't really a social network to be recognized or focused on moving forward?
What would we do about Google Hangouts?
Everything's intertwined. It's impossible to take one thing out without the whole wall collapsing, isn't it?
It'll be a live local event people can find in the SERP straight away. It'll be perfect. Watch us live on Google. Peter or Ryan, have you got any thoughts on kind of what's happening with this this deal and what it might impact?
Yeah, I suppose for me, I was thinking Google have been talking for a lot of years now about Google Now, and the whole ethos with that has been trying to give people results before they've even searched for something, so give them the results without there even being a search results page. And I feel like the Twitter deal could really layer on top of that in terms of making people aware of what people are tweeting just from the homepage of their Android phone, or whatever it is. Google are just giving you that information proactively rather than reactively. And we talk about 12 to 18 months, but yeah, we talk about how search pages might change in 12 to 18 months, but that could change the whole way that people are operating and the whole way that people are using mobile devices and everything else. So yeah, that's what excites me about it. I don't know what to expect specifically, but I think there's definitely going to be some big changes around that.
What about Ryan? Have you anything you want to add there?
I'm good. I'm liking the conversation.
That's great. Well, one thing that Lawrence mentioned, of course, is that the SERPs might change in all recognition over the next 18 months or so, and perhaps even sooner than that. And we've seen different test results, green stars, and different slow warnings that allegedly Google have been testing. Although in the image that we saw just in the last week or so, in a couple of different sites, the slow badge, the icon was next to, of course, Google Properties, Google, and I believe YouTube as well. So perhaps it was just demonstrating what it might be doing, or was it testing that? So, any thoughts on that, Lawrence?
Well, I think we haven't seen enough of them yet in our tests to draw a conclusion as to how they're coming up or what level they're coming up. But obviously, that's something that our data scientists will be working on. But I think it's just the pace of change that's interesting for us. You just mentioned, a handful of changes, and I made some sort of notes here on just stuff that's happened recently. And from the mobile, this site being mobile friendly or unfriendly, the slow image thumbnails on mobiles, user interface tweaks on mobile devices, SERPs without URLs again, which is an old one that's been tested. Then chat in local business listings. I don't know if you've seen that recently, and you suddenly think, well, there is, I know that Google claimed last time I read some research on it to do something like 5,000 experiments, and apparently the average Google user might be exposed to, up to a dozen experiments at once. So there's no question to my mind that there is an awful lot of activity going on trying to tweak the results, not just Google, of course, but also Bing and Yahoo, if they're not copying Google as they were recently. And they're all looking for to try and give people the right experience. And so for me, I think what was quite interesting was seeing the local chat, for example. I mean, my background prior to starting Analytics SEO was very much in local, the Thomson Directories in the UK as a Yellow Pages publisher, and one of the things that the Yellow Pages industry have done for years is make a huge amount of money out of monetizing usage of demand for local businesses and services with a very old model, which has obviously now been superseded, and Google has had most of their market share, their data, and their advertising revenue. But I think one thing we always want to do in that sector was to try and promote the very best, greatest deals to consumers, but sometimes that was at odds with the guys who wanted to spend the most money. And that was always a problem for big Yellow Pages publishers, but perhaps it isn't for Google now. And I would see businesses like Rated People and MyBuilder, who offer great services, being disintermediated as their service is offered directly on Google.
One of the major differences, of course, is that what you were saying is that certain businesses might not appear if they didn't pay, but this is almost going a step further in that Google, if they don't recommend your website, if they think it's too slow, are actually potentially putting a little red label on your site saying don't visit this site because it might be too bad an experience. And if I was an owner of a big multi-million-pound business and I had that little label on my site, I would be extremely upset. And of course, you've got to wonder what kind of metrics Google are using to judge that. Do you think that kind of little label to put on a site is fair enough to do, and do you think businesses would get upset about that fairly?
I think businesses might well get upset about it, just as they get upset today about clients who leave them poor reviews, and you see all sorts of interesting conversations on Facebook and online when businesses feel that they've been served an injustice. But I think it's going to happen, and I mean it's been happening obviously for the very worst. They're going to have a warning saying, warning, garish colours on the next page, or ugly graphics, or something I don't know, equally creative. I couldn't come up with anything else. But
warning, this isn't a paid ad, yeah.
To add on to what Lawrence was saying, I think. Maybe what's next is Google has that red label if you don't have a mobile optimized site, responsive design, things like that. I think it's it's all about the age of the consumer or the user, and other businesses have to adapt quickly. It reminds me of, a decade ago with all flash sites with some of the retail brands that were really trying to sell sex nonstop, basically with all flash, and then those sites became invisible and they had to adapt. So I think it's just a win for the consumer with Google and others espousing a great user experience on any device.
Okay, and but at least Google in the States have got a fair amount of competition, because you've got MSN with about 20% of search, I believe, and about Yahoo with about 10, just slightly increasing now. So Google are only about 60-odd%, and then in the UK it's nearer 90, in Australia it's 94. So does there need to be any big question here, government intervention to actually try and manage the search market a little bit?
I'm a capitalist, I guess. I would let the markets play out as they are, but with precedents in the UK.
Yeah. Well, we've got the European Union here, of course, that are more than willing to get their hands dirty with that, rightly or wrongly.
Well, I think perhaps you'll see more competition complaints as things go as time goes on. I haven't read through the thousands of pages of documents either at the FCC or the European Commission on everything that they've been investigating recently. But with Google vertically integrating itself more and more, whether it's through what we've seen them do in the car insurance sector or hotel guides, and I can see them that happening more and more, tackling it vertical by vertical, with an ambition to provide the best possible user experience, but in a category that also makes a lot of money. So I would imagine that there will be more competition complaints, but how effective the regulators will be in keeping up with the pace of change remains to be seen.
Putting that mark against the website in the index is a bit like a Google penalty, and I've always wondered how long it's going to be before someone manages to sue Google for loss of earnings. I don't know if they'd ever win, but that would be where it is going to get interesting, I think. I don't know if anyone's got any views on that, but
yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, to be honest. That mark against someone's website is basically Google demotivating their users from visiting that website. And if that website has historically had success, whether it's slow or whether it's fast, if it is a slow website but people have still been using that site and having a good experience and converting on that website, then in some ways, who's Google to say that people shouldn't go to that website? Who is Google to actually put people off visiting that site? So it'll be interesting. I definitely think from a legal point of view as well.
Especially when they've got such a domination. That's the thing, isn't it? Why do they have the say so?
That's it. I mean, we've got clients at our agency who 95% of their visitors come direct through Google searches, whether that's paid or natural. But yeah, if Google hit them, then that's their entire business.
DuckGo, that have been increasing in popularity a little bit. Does anyone see a likelihood that may go slightly mainstream at all over the next couple of years?
I think they need to do something really, really, anything that has really shaken the market right now. So, yeah, who knows? They may have big plans up their sleeve, but right now I don't think they've done anything to excite the market enough. We'll see.
I can't imagine anyone's ever going to say, I'm just going to go and DuckDuckGo it.
Yeah.
But maybe if they get acquired by someone like a Twitter or a Facebook or whoever, someone else, perhaps a rebranding and a slight change of focus, and maybe you'll just go and Twitter it or Facebook it or something. So I think if they've gained any ground, it's probably off the back of the privacy. Certainly, not tracking your searches. They made a big deal of that, and I think that's probably helped them gain a bit of market share. But I must say we don't have a great deal of demand across our thousands of clients looking for tracking their rankings in DuckDuckGo yet. But something we have to keep a watching brief on.
One thing in relation to that, Pete, you mentioned that you thought that Google trusted stores was an interesting topic. How are you seeing that area going at the moment?
Yeah, I think right now it's kind of one of those features that's snuck up on us a little bit, that Google have released this trusted stores thing, and you're starting to see it on a few big retailers, certainly in the UK space that Google are trying to play in, and that space is really the whole reviews space. Right now, from an AdWords point of view, they get a lot of their reviews from Trustpilot, from FIFO, from other third-party aggregator websites, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the first step to them getting rid of those relationships and actually trying to overtake it all themselves. So yeah, I just think it's maybe another space that Google are trying to play in that they haven't traditionally played in, and yeah, just be interested to see where that goes.
I'd like to just add to that. I just think it's a huge data opportunity for them as well.
Absolutely.
To improve their algorithms around local or the general algorithms. What makes a good business. If they've got some and can validate that these user reviews are real, that's going to help them. Obviously, there's been enough issues in the press with fake reviews, but obviously credibility. They can say these businesses are credible businesses, and that's what consumers want when they want someone in to decorate the house or fix the fence. And if there's anybody out there, actually, the wind's blowing down my fence, so I could do with a fencer right now. But that's obviously on my mind. But yeah, I mean, they want credible businesses to appear in the search results. So I think there's a massive data gathering opportunity, and even around things with the local chat integration in terms of pricing information, availability, how responsive a business is. Perhaps you might see changes in ad position or rankings based on hours of day that businesses respond. Who knows?
Yeah.
Another thing that you mentioned, Lawrence, was actually having chat boxes being tested in the search results as well. And that's another thing that can keep people perhaps just on the search results, encourage people to stay within the search results and stay as part of the Google experience as much as possible. Is that something that your average business owner should be concerned about, do you think?
Well, not necessarily concerned about, but they want to be there, and they want to be the if it's my local business, I want to be there and be the guy that had someone, if it wasn't myself, chatting to potential clients morning, noon, and night. And I think from Google's perspective, you can see it with the instant, the rich answers that they've started to show in the search results with increasing regularity. They want to give people answers immediately without them having to go anywhere else, and give them the best sense of satisfaction and gratification of Google service. So I think for the instant chat, it cuts across lots of other markets. I mentioned people like My Builder and where you go off and you can message businesses that are rated, that are certified, that are reviewed by other people. It's arranged for people to come around, and it's going to make it happen on the page. So from a consumer perspective, I'd say that's got to be a win. It's much more convenient. You trust Google, their established brand, and from an advertiser perspective, you're just going to have to play.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think that's I guess the word frictionless comes to mind, because a chat box, a consumer is going to engage with that a lot quicker than, I know Google a year or two ago really tried to launch capturing email address from the search results page, and that currency is a lot more valuable. It's a lot more to give up as a consumer, your email address, not necessarily knowing that the brand that you're signing up for that well, versus chat is less of a investment. It's more frictionless. It's easier to do. So those types of experiments that Google is doing, I think they're going to find things like that are working, and they're going to gravitate towards serving that up, whatever is going to resonate with the consumer, and drop off the things like capturing email address that just aren't used that much.
So we've got Facebook, which are sitting perhaps a little bit outside this little deal between Google and Twitter. And Johnny, you mentioned that Facebook are starting a TV advertising campaign in the UK. Are they running scared a little bit, do you think?
Well, I mean, you've got to wonder why they are spending money on TV advertising. It's a really interesting question. There's been major changes on Facebook recently with, business pages only being seen by 4 to 6% of fans, and you're also seeing 9 to 13-year-olds are sort of being brought up on Instagram as their sort of that's the staple diet. It's certainly not, they're certainly not talking. In fact, I say 9. I mean, I'm talking sort of 6, 7-year-olds are signing up to Instagram. I've got 4 kids, and I'm amazed that parents are signing their 6-year-old kids up onto Instagram, which I don't think that's legal. But anyway, that's a whole other story. It's you've got to wonder why Facebook are doing this. And I don't know. Has anyone seen the adverts? They're quite good adverts, but
I haven't seen them actually. No,
I've not seen it. No.
They were only launched about 3 days ago. There's 3 adverts, and it's all about friendship.
So it's targeting just people signing up and using their services as personal users as opposed to businesses.
Absolutely, it's very emotive, and it's all about rekindling friendships from past generations and many years ago, and you've got to wonder. I just can't help but think that there's a downturn.
I mean, do you think that their market, it's really hard to acquire customers when you have a quarter of the planet already on your social network? And I think they haven't done it today. They haven't needed to. I don't think Zuckerberg he doesn't come from a place of advertising and marketing, so he's just now starting to kind of experiment with it. But frankly, they've kind of tapped out a lot of the channels to pick up much in the way of acquisition, and TV is a broad-based tool to potentially get there, or at least stop the bleeding a little bit as far as users getting less active on that network.
Yeah. I don't know. It throws up the question, but even as you said just then, to stop the bleeding as well, and to keep people engaged on there, and I think they're probably being proactive more than reactive, but it is a sign. And I was and we were talking about search earlier. Would you go off on Facebook? And Facebook search is just, why is Facebook search so bad, and why is it still so bad? It's horrendous. But then at the same time, we do love Facebook. So yeah.
I think we love and we hate Facebook.
Yes.
From a business perspective, obviously, I think Lawrence touched upon the fact that organic reach for pages has gone down to 4% for many businesses, which is very concerning, especially if you've focused a lot on trying to build up your number of likes and interaction on those pages. But then again, if you want to use Facebook advertising and the right kind of audience are sitting on Facebook, you've got that such great targeted profiling that you can do, that you've got those custom audiences that you can build on Facebook advertising on. Do you think perhaps that Google might be intending on partnering with Twitter to do that at some point in the future, to actually try and offer better customized advertising?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they are, to be honest. It's definitely well known that Twitter have got pretty good profiling of people as well. Certainly the Twitter ads that you can run right now, you get a lot of choices in terms of the type of person you actually want to target. So yeah, I've been saying for a long time that I wouldn't be surprised if Google start to link more of the what you can do on display in terms of targeting interest, demographics, that kind of thing. If they target that in with search and search advertising especially, and customize every single one of those search results pages based on people's individual likes, individual demographics, which of course they are doing anyway, but just giving a bit more visibility more control to advertisers of that kind of thing. And I think, having Twitter's data behind them and really kind of layering that on top of what they've already got is definitely going to be a big thing for them.
Yeah.
I mean, Google have been focusing over the last couple of years about increasing their revenue, of course, with perhaps reducing the amount of targeting that you can do. And I think we've discussed this before, Pete, about you not being able to pinpoint people on tablets, for instance, quite so accurately now as you used to perhaps 3 years ago.
Yep.
Do you think they might backtrack on that kind of thing at some point?
Yeah, I think I'm surprised they still haven't, to be honest, given the amount of uproar there was in the industry about it. Or I don't know, part of me thinks, is segmenting mobile versus tablet versus computer, is that the way to do it? Should it just be based on screen size or something like that? So if you're searching on a 3-inch screen, then you're less likely to convert than if you're searching on a 6-inch phablet or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. They may well backtrack or do something different along those lines. I don't think anyone would be too sad to see that happening. But I guess I would slightly disagree with your point there, David, about them reducing the amount of targeting options. I think they have reduced it in that one specific area in terms of tablets, but I think other than that, they've actually opened it up in a lot of areas. So, demographic targeting has been in beta for ages, but I think every advertiser is using that to an extent now, and other things like remarketing list for search ads, for example, gives you a lot more targeting options than you've ever had in the past. So yeah, I think it's probably the logical next stage would be integrating further data such as Twitter data.
That is where Google fall down when you compare it to Facebook or to Twitter with regards to targeting, and I guess the other issue is you've not necessarily got people signed into Google accounts. People have so many multiple Google accounts as well, don't they? And forever swapping between or not signed in, and results are in general not personalised. So I think it's a very valid point you've made that I think the going along with Twitter could well be a move to personalisation, to stronger personalisation. That's a very interesting point.
Well, also for mobile as well, I really think there's a big drive around mobile, and both on the organic and the ad side of things, it makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned streaming earlier, and you were talking about streaming tweets. I mean, where's it going to go? As bandwidth goes up in terms of availability and speed, and you've got the new faster internet protocol, HTTP2 coming down the line. I mean, the world's going to get faster, and I think those red badges will be a thing of the past because it'll almost be incidental unless you've got a really bad site, and then you won't even appear. You'll just be off the radar. And so I think from a mobile perspective, it will be streaming tweets today and images, and then it will be live video. You want to see what's hot right now, and you'll be able to. So or near live. So who knows? Certainly, I'm sure there's some clever people doing some interesting tests as we speak in various parts of the world.
I think that one of the interesting things about a conversation is the fact that we're morphing between paid advertising, some SEO, and it all is really relating together into performance and just overall customer experience. And one thing that Ryan mentioned at the beginning was that he's seeing more of a move towards growth hacking marketing rather than just traditional marketing roles or traditional roles in a certain area in business. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, Ryan?
Yeah. I think I'll use an example. There's a very large U.S. taco company that launched a mobile ordering app, and you would think 5 years ago it would be all about getting eyeballs to that app. But really, what this concept of growth hacker marketing or seamless marketing is, instead of having this, outdoor advertising and TV advertising, all of that, it's really having your marketing agency, not just your tech company, looking at all of the barriers within the app and looking at all the points where consumers are dropping out and building in those communication points of whether it's push notifications, email, customized to that person, obviously at the right time, all of the standard things that we always say, but really playing that out through push and email and direct messaging and social, and offering that up in a way where, you know, a college guy who's had a bit to drink, like, wants to, you know, is hungry in that moment, you know, you're going to offer up a communication to motivate them to make that order right there, and then have the mobile technology of the offline world where you're doing beaconing to then trigger, hey, you're within 500. I got to convert things to meters, right? You're within 200 meters of the restaurant. Check in, and it's going to be served up fresh right now, and skip the line, and you can get it and customize. But it's not just that one example. It's across, you know, fashion retailers, that it's across Starbucks and obviously the Apple Store, where salespeople in these brick and mortar stores are, you know, they have full inventory at their fingertips on their iPads to serve up an order, no line waiting, like a very customized experience that is frictionless and allows commerce to happen right away, and everyone's happy, everyone wins. And that comes from taking it away from this siloed world of marketing does marketing, product tech folks only do tech, and, you know, operations does operation. It's like getting everybody to get into the product and make it a seamless experience for this whole, like, let's all be consumers. Let's all really think about all the touch points that consumers have and make it frictionless.
So do you think that moving forward, it'll be possible to have one person to actually realistically understand most of that, or are you talking about it's likely that big agencies are the future, and that it's going to be harder for smaller agencies that are very niche focused to compete in that kind of environment?
No, I think the future is more towards specialization and niche expertise. What I'm saying is that those specialist agencies have to work better together, or some of that expertise might be in-house at a retail brand, or, you know, a large restaurant brand, or any of these large Fortune 500 companies that are selling to consumers. I think that that kind of mindset of, hey, we can't stay in our silos, that we have to, like, marketing guy or gal looks at the product and comes at it from a user experience and communication mindset. I think collaboration is going to be more and more key, and we have to execute flawlessly on that. Factor in customer reviews that we were talking about before. All of those things, this whole trend that we were just talking about before with Google, like, where the consumer is the winner, like, businesses are adapting to that now, and they have to adapt quicker, because only the most innovative marketers are cleaning up on that trend right now. It's not pervasive. It's just kind of like the top 10%, I would say, of marketers they're winning right now, and they will continue to win as long as they have that mindset.
And who's leading the way? Is it agencies, or is it marketers in-house?
I think it comes from the DNA of the marketers in-house. And if the marketers in-house aren't receptive to that agency model, it has to start there, and then they're picking the best of breed of agencies to then build on top of that. But if there's kind of a political barrier within in-house, then it's not, you know, agencies aren't going to force that to happen. It has to come. It has to start. The mindset has to start there, and then agencies, whether you're a search agency or an email agency or a full digital agency or what have you, like those are all going to be amplifiers of a healthy kind of culture towards good marketing.
So, I mean, Johnny say, I mean, in the last couple of years, would you say that your clients are now more switched on and more proactive when it comes to actually implementing newer, fresher, more interesting ideas?
Yeah, the bit that I'm wondering about is I think there's a lot of barriers internally in-house with different departments still. I think that's still a major issue. I like very much what you're saying, and I think it is a very good model going forwards. But I think there's still massive barriers in-house. But then the other thing is, what I'm also noticing is I'm still seeing agencies growing vastly and becoming so generalist. And you've got PR agencies suddenly developing websites. You've got website agencies doing PR. I'd quite like to see it go back to specialist. But I don't think, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm sort of feeling that we're still going in the direction where everyone's becoming everything.
I think you've got to be context aware.
With anyone
really,
near.
you've got to understand. Marketers have got to understand that it's a multi-channel world, and they might be watching. You might be watching the Facebook ad whilst you're on Twitter, sitting at home on your sofa. And I think in terms of retail, I mean, certainly picking up on Ryan's comments, I think there's an opportunity for a new breed of analytics tools. That's for sure. To try and really understand this multi-channel, to understand how you're driving sales and conversions both in store and online. And I can also see some some predictive analytics tools. I've been sort of investigating sort of a part-time interest more than anything else in beacons. I'm sure Ryan knows more about this than me, but if you can use some of the more powerful beacons and target people that's 500 feet or meters away, then you're going to get people targeting your customers while they're in your store. Now, I've heard about geofences and things like this, and maybe you can set up boundaries so your guys aren't getting hammered with competitors' messages from across the street. But certainly there's a need for integration more than anything else, and I think it's people who can see the whole picture. It's the in-house marketeers, it's the CEOs who get the whole picture and can gear up their organization and have a strong red line of communication that are going to succeed.
Are your clients there, Lawrence?
Are our clients there? I think over the we have a lot of agencies worldwide that use our platform, and we're a technology company. So we don't actually we do the easy work. We just build the technology. We don't sort of build the services. We support our clients, and I'd say I've seen a lot over the last 12 months or 2 years broaden their range of services that they're offering to clients, and perhaps that's a defensive measure, because if you're just offering, you're seen as a one-trick pony, you're just offering SEO or just offering paid, and someone comes across and can do both and can give you data-driven insights from both, then perhaps they can build a compelling argument for you to move. So, I think from a services perspective, yes, specialize. Being able to specialize and having in-depth expertise in an area, of course, is important. But you've got to be able to see the whole picture, and perhaps being able to offer, ancillary services is going to help you when not your core business. I don't think anyone can really, apart from maybe the biggest agencies have acquired all that specialism, can offer the real in-depth knowledge that you need to be experts in every sector.
One thing that's happened, of course, over the last couple of years is we've seen a a lessering of the data within Google Analytics. We've, the keyword data has obviously disappeared just about altogether. Pete, I mean, what would you say? Are you fairly comfortable with the future of Google Analytics? What do you think may happen to that tool? Are you reaching out and trying to find other sources of tracking more effectively?
Yeah, I think for us, I'm comfortable with it, where analytics is right now, and I'm kind of comfortable with the decisions that they seem to be making for the future. So certainly trying to make things a bit multi-channel and doing cross-device and stuff like that is the obvious steps that Google Analytics are taking. I suppose in terms of the natural search results and stuff, it seems to be what you're losing in analytics, you're gaining in Webmaster Tools now. So I don't know if you've all seen the report earlier, I think it was this week or last week, about search impact reports, which is just an alpha test to a few select people at the moment. I think there's something on Search Engine Land about it, which is going to give you some really specific insights from natural search in terms of click-through rates, impressions, average positions on page, stuff like that. So that should be almost like a spruced up version of what analytics used to be from a natural side. But yeah, I suppose for me, it would be great if there was something out there that was able to track everything in the whole multi-channel world that we work in. But from what I've seen, and tell me if I'm wrong, from what I've seen, Google Analytics seems to be up there with the rest of them in terms of taking those steps and heading in the right direction. I don't think there's anyone who's a million miles ahead of them in terms of being able to really understand multi-channel.
They've certainly got enough resources to do it well, I think, and I concur with that. But I do think there's still a big opportunity for people to help, especially e-commerce retailers, with real stores up and down the country. I think there's a great opportunity to help them, and we'll see a new breed of context-aware analytics tools in years to come, or maybe even sooner than that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's certainly. I think more businesses would perhaps be scared of the fact that they're relying too much on Google and they're doing everything through Google. They're perhaps just focusing on Google AdWords and using Google Analytics, and perhaps just wondering to themselves, what would happen if one of these tools went away? Would I be able to move onto something else, or would this significantly impact potentially my business being able to carry on running?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's probably a thing that will concern most marketeers. They're kind of happy with the status quo, and if someone goes under or a tool becomes unavailable, someone will jump in that gap and offer them something. So I think business is the real stake is knowing what to do next. Where should I be spending my money? Where should I be focusing my efforts? How big should my team be? Where can I get the best return on my spend? Those are the kind of things that keep people like you and me and everybody else up at night.
Well, I mean, I think we've had a great discussion here, and I'm sure the watchers will have taken away quite a few decent tidbits there, and have a few opinions themselves, hopefully within comments. But perhaps let's finish off with, if we can, just with one takeaway each, one thought on what has perhaps piqued your interest most in the conversation, and then after that we can just do a quick round of everyone's contact details after that. But in terms of what I've probably focused on most in terms of the stories that have come out, I think the fact that Twitter and Google have got together, or are likely to appear together within search results in the coming months is very interesting. And yesterday, we're recording this on the 26th of February 2015, so yesterday, 25th, Twitter just released a plugin for WordPress, and that has the potential of doing a lot of tracking for them as well, and perhaps making advertising a lot more interesting. So it's amazing that all these kind of deals make tracking a lot more interesting, and organic search much more interesting as well. So it's just this morphing together of different search that seems very interesting to me. So shall we start off in the same order that we started with? And Johnny, do you have a takeaway yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be on the Twitter Google story, and I think it would have to be if you're doing Twitter, then if that's part of your strategy, then more importantly, you need to be strategic on there, and you also need to, I think, we need to think of even building links to our Twitter accounts, and really making them relevant and really be strategic with regard to content and keywords and even times of day and all that sort of thing. I think it's I think that has to be a major part of any digital strategy going forwards.
And Lawrence, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that have been banded around. For me, sort of integration, you need to be context aware, and the fact that customers are, it's a multi-channel world, and you need to be prepared to give your customer a brilliant experience, whether that's in store through beacons, whether it's online on desktop, on mobile, on tablet, or whether they're chatting to you or messaging you, or tweeting about you or your competitors or what's on in the local area. So for me, probably the single biggest thing right now for businesses, is just sort out your mobile site and a mobile strategy. Because for me, a slow badge might be a slap on the wrist on the evolutionary scale of Google penalties, a tut or a shake of the head, and but it's how long before it's a good telling off, a suspension and an expulsion. So I think sort out your mobile strategy. It's crucial.
And I liked what you said about just treat your customers nicely as well, because most businesses won't be able to afford to focus on all the technologies available, but if they simply offer their customers a great product or service and treat their customers well, then to a certain degree in this modern world, their customers will do their marketing for them as well.
Yeah, just on that point, I'm not one to make a plug, but I just read this book recently, which is by Jennifer Jansen, called The Reputation Playbook. And it talks about a reputation strategy, and not from sort of managing spammy or derogatory remarks in the SERPs, which we all as SEOs know a lot about. Hopefully not about our companies, obviously, but in terms of having a reputation strategy, planning it, talking it about board level. What do we want our reputation to be? How do we build that reputation? How do we contribute to that? And I think that perhaps ties into some of the things that Ryan was talking about earlier.
And moving on to Pete, have you got any final thoughts to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's really to agree with what you've said, well, with what all three of you have said before me. To be honest, I think the Twitter thing is the most exciting thing that's happening right now. I do think that could lead to an absolute cosmic shift in terms of what search means over the next 12 months. Certainly, SEO's jobs have moved a lot over the last year, over the last 5 years, and I think this is almost the next kind of turn in the road as to where it's going to go next. So yeah, really like some of the comments you made, Johnny, about building links to your Twitter page, for example. That's it's a pretty wild idea right now, but yeah, that kind of thing.
You're not going to become an SEO, or are you, Pete?
No, not anytime soon. It's far too unpredictable. PPC is easy.
He's going to be doing paid ads to Twitter accounts.
There we go. Paid advertising on Twitter, they'll keep that. Every one of these services wants to make money at the end of the day, so
yeah.
So my job's always going to be safe.
And what about you, Ryan? Have you got any thoughts as well?
Yeah, I would just say my key takeaway is that marketers have to know in their heart of hearts, that consumers and user experience will win every time, and the world is moving more and more that way. And so we as marketers need to really deliver on this whole notion of frictionless brand story and commerce, and really, I think we in the agency world can be specialists, but we have to understand all of the other offline and digital channels enough to see the whole picture and to synthesize that information into our specialty. So I think that's a lot of, a little bit of what the guy who wrote the small book, I'll do it on growth hacker marketing, is guy Ryan Holiday. Need to meet him, but really like what he has to say there too.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's just finish off with a little personal plug, so that anyone watching can get hold of us if they wish to do so. So if you just remind everyone your full name and contact details, your full website address would be enough if you want, and perhaps just a quick summary of what you do as well. So starting off with Johnny.
Yeah, sure. I blog once a week. You'll find my blogs on johnnyross.com. No H, JONNYROSS.com. And I've got a Twitter account, JR Consultancy. Happy to answer any questions or continue the conversation. Really enjoyed this. Thanks, David.
Thanks. And Lawrence.
Yeah, so Lawrence O'Toole from analyticsseo.com, online SEO, big data and software platform. Really, I'd just say we're hiring at the moment, so if you like what we talked about today and want to live and breathe it on a daily basis, we're looking for growth hackers, marketing people to look after the customer experience, and engineers to play with big data all day. So please get in touch with me on, I'm very easy to find on LinkedIn. I rank well.
I'm moving on to Pete.
Yep, so I'm Pete Whitmarsh. Searchlaboratory.com is the company, so we're Leeds-based and New York-based, PPC and SEO agency. My role is really the paid side of things. If you want to get in touch with me, I've got to say I'm not great on the whole social side of things, so probably just go to searchlaboratory.com and send an email.
Or phone you.
Oh, give me a call, make it easy. Forget this whole internet.
And Ryan as well.
Yep, Ryan Buchanan with eRoy. It's eroi.com, and we have a couple blogs a week, and we are also hiring designers and digital project managers. Drop me a line, my Ryan, RYAN, at eroi.com.
Lovely. Okay, and last and hopefully not least, I'm David Bain, and founder and host of digitalmarketingradio.com, where you can find this and future discussions. So sign up for any correspondence there, and we will make you aware of any future roundtables that we have. So thanks everyone for taking part. And thank you for getting to the end as a viewer. I appreciate that. Please add any comments wherever you're viewing this. That would be much appreciated. And any feedback that you can offer, I will take into consideration, obviously, for future episodes. So thanks, everyone, again, and wave goodbye.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
David. Bye.